At the time of first contact with Europeans, much of Samoan music consisted of single-sex choirs, organized into a leader and chorus, the one singing solo a short verse, and the other responding either in unison or two voice parts with a short cadence before the next verse. This style of singing is uncommon in modern Samoa, but can be heard in this song about an early flag-raising ceremony sung by the Ngataula, a men's singing group from the village of Asau in Savai'i. The rare performance was recorded on the occasion of the visit of their highnesses to Iatua Tupua Tamasese Taisi Efi and Masiofu Filifilia Tamasese in early January 2008.
O mea tāua mauho i sāre linga nisi sā iloa ia whātunga o ana mua asio tātua tunu. O le maua mai lea pālangi o lae e whai a whātunga a tina la topo te mai tai. Pea whai sa lātou whale la langa. Whai sa lātou wālawa ni mea ngā ioia i o lātou lima ma o lātou le lātou teimi whao ngāi. E ia whātunga sa whai whapena hoi ali.
Kanga ilea ni valena I saute o iai o fetu foi e whakoruse. Samoa e whiwhire mo, awala mane iai se manueon, o le poloa ua e aua saulo.
O te tonua o pe senga. Rai a lo teu ai e le ngata le nganga a lo teu ai foi to fa.
The arrival of Europeans in general, and British missionaries in particular, introduced Samoans to mixed choirs and singing in 3 or 4 parts. These singers are from villages in the district of Falealili. They're performing at an ethnomusicology forum in Samoa in 2018, held during the annual Te Wila Festival. Some contemporary songs by village choirs retain lines sung solo by the leader. Solo songs normally performed in private and therefore escaping early European notice are integrated into spoken fables at key points in the narrative, and also feature in some healing incantations. Examples of solo singing in Whangongo, as these fables are known, can be heard today thanks to the work of Professor Richard Moyle, whose recordings in Samoa date back to the 1960s.
Singing is an integral part of what it means to be a Samoan. Music then was largely a village thing. Each village had its own alfaipese, and many of the villages also had awalumas, and they had their own alfaipese. And there was strong loyalty to local values, and those values are expressed and they are celebrated in songs.
The Ethnomusicology Forum provides an opportunity for traditional Samoan music to be presented and analyzed.
Ole whamuemuela ina ia to te pataula I musika ma whātunga tuai o Samoa. Ia manisi fo I o whātunga po o tuai ngā musika o leo na po ua a whiai a whātunga Samoa mana whawhiahianga me tau musika.
le se mea piko sili fo ya o ma ngai le whaalongo o se kamikiki o le o manmalama e se mea ka musika. Wa avea le whaalongo i nga mumo mai a me se fo ia lau makua. Le ka lengi sa ia lako ma mawa e a mau ai fo se lango mai fia mamna ma akili ai. And o whaia onga piko sili nga langonga ai le kaua megia musika. Ma ua vaaya e fo ia le kulanga o le akungu. I le lako fo i le whamkalainga o le kulanga o pese pesenga. A o kala o le whaupunga o pese. Yo, o se iei uma winga o pese pesenga ia. O ngā iei e loa koe ngā o le kuaku o le la au inga ia pese o whakasi. Pio ngi mea mkua o fofongia i la o mawhawha. O ngā whia mawailo e se awangoa e aoa i le kawhaidi. O la ko la ngā mua mai i malai. Ia, o la ko ngā whaia o ngā mai wai o nei a mea e le i whapenga ngā o ngai. Malmala mai ngoka ma kura ngā whapenga ke lea o le o ngā mākou ia o le awa o alwhanonga.
Lava le whanau o mātua. E uso mātua na whai al whaidi aso ia au laiti ia o au na whai matama lau me whaidi au laititi ia o au le roadie al whaidi. Ia au aru lava le wholango a uso mātua al whaidi ia whaalongolongo ala au laititi ia matai uma ia chords tūlanga o le taleni o le tampalau po le the closest i le Samoa ia o le bass o le kikala ia makamaka ia so la o lo makua kama o lo i fafo ma a ku wa me faili le i potu e ale potu fale to me faili ia o lo ia so la o lo lo tara fe to ia matalona o me fafo ki ia guitarra ma le bass ia ma set up le drums ia o mai lava taleni lava temi se o mai lava batu lo faila faili ia to fo mai uso o mai na uso o fati mai lo falta to fai mai le ai o fai lava si advance lo tata o le to fitata ma to ia te oe
pe ai mo wa le mea ki fa mai ai wa sa fai le fale enga man fa pia o le ko mama kinga e o le moto ni inga i fa mo Freddie speech. Ia e a whaili sa ia o mai e kuala ko me whaili ai o. Ia a o lor kai o. Ia o an wha ka mai. Gar a man kan ka palau ia o kile am ia wha o le liga. Ia e ngai uncles mai aunties ia mai ia whaari mai ngai coach ia e o le ukulele po le kikala. Ia o mea ngau ki muri a kura o laua ngā whaafikai ai. I uso makua whafinge o uncles and aunts lenga whaali mai la ko ka lengi i mako i o me foi ngā lau kaunga whai kaunga pesto e ka kou i ka ko ka lengi i ngai i whangau rea kungu po ferme o iai a ia se passion e il mea ngā ia ka wā whaali e o le mea whaakukua e au ar ke wā ka sa uma, e kolu au, e teacher ule ukulele klasi ngai I kuila I whangarongo. E kolu a mea ngō whako a fia le leila uka. Ia, au no mea mua la vai whai, practice. On mea longo lua, practice. On mea longo kolu, practice. Le leila uka.
Mame, what up there?
Instruments capable of playing a melody, such as panpipes and the nose flutes you can hear in the background, were also for private use and became obsolete by the 20th century. By contrast, percussive instruments such as beating a rolled mat and hand clapping continue to function as timekeepers in choral music. Throughout the historical period, Samoans have placed high cultural value on artistic originality, incorporating elements from its British and German colonizers, as well as styles heard in neighboring Polynesian islands.
We're gonna get some satisfaction. We're gonna look at what it's all about. that man I love, and he'll be big and strong. That man I love, and when it comes my way, I'll do my best to make him stay. He'll look at me and smile, I'll understand, and in a little while he'll hold my hand.
Samoa, a small Pacific Island country with a population of less than 200,000, was one of the last places on Earth to be influenced by the first wave of globalization, reaching the far-flung islands of the world's largest ocean through early trade with foreign countries and the zeal of religious missionaries. Taken in the early 1920s, this photograph of the Apia Jazz Band demonstrates just how far of a global reach and appeal this genre of music has. At the end of the decade in 1929, two people who would have an enduring influence on jazz and the music scene in Samoa and American Samoa were born. Willie Miller on the 7th of January and Mavis Rivers on the 19th of May. While both musicians were born at what was then Western Samoa, their musical legacies encompassed the two Samoas. That they would one day perform together was inevitable. The story of jazz that would later emerge in the Samoan archipelago had begun. While this film focuses on Mavis Rivers, Willie Miller's contribution to music, a legacy carried forward by his three musically gifted sons, Harry, Latu, and Maua, remains significant and continues to this day to inspire musicians in the two Samoas and internationally. This legacy also includes the early contributions to music of the late Tulitafunga Papali'i Henry Hunkin, who, together with Willie Miller, formed the Tuli Brothers, who toured and were recorded in Australia in 1954 and 1955.
Around 68, 69, the 70s, where I had met Mavis Rivers. This is where in Lake Tahoe, South Shore, at the Harvey's Resort Hotel. And she was at the pavilion room of Harvey's. And I had my show and my group on the lounge at Harvey's. It's a different altogether, but in the same whole building. So when I was there and I heard the people were saying about the new jazz that came at the pavilion. So I didn't pay attention until they mentioned Mavis. So I remember her from Western and here in American Samoa. But I didn't know her then. It was when then I went to see me and my girls, my dancers. We went in and the place was packed. So I have to beg the maitre d' at the door, please can we come in? So he did. He took us in her last show. And her midnight show. And when we sat down, I didn't know Mavis then. So we watched and we laughed. That's when the whole show ended. we got to introduce each other. She came down, and the place was still so many. It was packed because her voice was so outstanding. You close your eyes, and there's, which I love, Ella Fitzgerald, and there she is exactly like Ella Fitzgerald. There's no difference.
So here's Pennies from Heaven.
Every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Trading for a
Fast forward to 2014 and you'll discover the birth of the Samoana Jazz and Arts Festival, the brainchild of Siteine Peta Si'ulepa, a vocalist known to many for her passion for jazz.
And in Samoa, the inaugural Samoana Jazz and Arts Festival will be happening in early November. Organizer, singer and jazz enthusiast Peta Si'ulepa wants to bring the two Samoas together through the music.
You know, there's something about Samoa. We're one people, one language, one culture. It was about actually bringing the two countries together as the islands of Samoa. And it makes sense to start in American Samoa and Pango because jazz in the Pacific arrived in Pango.
It's not only performance, there'll be workshops and masterclasses to showcase jazz to the next generation.
And so what we're wanting to do is to, present, jazz in its various forms so that we can also show our young people that we're not just reggae and we're not just hip-hop.
Local and international jazz artists will also be performing.
So that is the compelling backstory behind the Samoana Jazz and Arts Festival, and we've started to tell this story each time we celebrate the United Nations International Jazz Day on April the 30th.
Since 2014, the Samoana Jazz and Arts Festival boards of Samoa and American Samoa have worked collaboratively to provide enriching and entertaining jazz performances and music education programs to a growing community of interest.
So on this 8th International Jazz Day, I would like to recall very inspiring words of great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He spoke about the crucial role of jazz in creating a sense of identity among African American communities and countless others who are oppressed. When life itself offers no order and no meaning, the musicians create an order and meaning from the sounds of the earth which flows through the instrument.
This well-known Samoan song was arranged for jazz instruments and played by the Ari Roland Jazz Quartet at the 2017 Jazz Festival. This now is the original music sung a cappella by people from Falealili, where the song originates. Celebrating jazz music in the two Samoas begins at the end of April each year. International Jazz Day brings together communities, schools, artists, historians, academics, and jazz enthusiasts all over the world to celebrate and learn about jazz, its roots, its future, and its impacts. This international art form is recognized for promoting peace, dialogue among cultures, diversity, and respect for human rights and human dignity.
Close your eyes, close the door. You don't hurry anymore. 'Cause I'm in your arms, baby, tonight. Shut the shade. You don't have to be afraid. 'Cause I'm in yours, baby, tonight.
Sitting under mango tree, eating my pie. Sitting under mango tree, watching life pass by. Sleeping under mango tree, dreaming dreams of love. Dreaming of the memories Samoa thinking of.
And the living is easy. Fish of champagne and the cotton is high. Oh, daddy's ring and your mama's good looking. Oh, hush, little baby, don't cry.
American Samoa is the southernmost border of the United States and is regarded as the birthplace of jazz in the Pacific. Harry Miller, the eldest of the Miller brothers, moved to American Samoa where he played and taught music for over 20 years. But the Miller story will be told another time. for the focus of this film is the queen of jazz in the Samoan archipelago, and indeed the Pacific. In 2018, the Samoana Jazz and Arts Festival paid tribute to a world-renowned and gifted jazz singer, Mavis Rivers.
I know that this is the 5th Samoana Jazz and Arts Festival, and it is a special tribute to Samoa's most famous jazz female vocalist and one of the world's greatest female jazz singers, the late Mavis Rivers. Ms. Rivers' jazz career has been an award-studded one during her sojourns in Samoa, New Zealand, and the United States, including nominations for the Grammy-award. It was in the United States that she spent most of her jazz singing career for the remainder of her life. Mavis's career, particularly in the early years, were shaped out in Samoa at the same time that jazz was fast influencing contemporary Samoan music.
The jazz concerts in the two Samoas dedicated to her memory brought her music home to her beloved islands, and was led by her Grammy Award-winning son and acclaimed jazz musician in his own right, Laauli Matt Catingub. Mavis Rivers made a significant contribution to jazz, beginning with her local contribution during World War II, and later in her international achievements throughout her celebrated musical career. Mavis Rivers is remembered as a phenomenal jazz performer. Frank Sinatra is said to have described her as the purest voice in jazz, comparing her to Ella Fitzgerald. She was a favorite with jazz purists and was often accompanied by her son Matt Catingub and his band in later years.
Willie Miller, the son of the late Mavis Rivers, please receive this proclamation on behalf of American Samoa. This is the original signed copy, not copy, the original signed proclamation proclaiming Jazz Week and also paying tribute to the late Mavis Rivers. How about a nice round of applause once again?
Good evening. Welcome. Izumi and I really welcome all of you to our home for a special evening with Matt Catingub and the Mavis Rivers Tribute Band.
We have Grammy winners, we have and nominees, major motion picture soundtrack, Broadway folks here, people who are so talented. I got to be honest with you, it's just I'm kind of got chills here, you know, with you and your team here, because the accomplishments, if you do a bio check on them, it's like, whoa, I can't believe they're here in Samoa. And obviously we want to thank you and your group for participating in the schools and public spaces, working with other local musicians to, you know, teach them, listen and learn, but also share your expertise to give them inspiration.
Today's been kind of fun here at the sound check because we've had folks show up as we've allowed them to come up and talk to us and ask any questions they want, because this is not a normal occurrence, shall we say. And especially tonight, we have a large orchestra, really, for what's happening up here. So I've allowed them to come up and ask, and so they've come up and talked to all our musicians and ask questions. I actually had a chance to give almost like a mini lesson in jazz to one of the parties. So that's been a lot of fun here, and so because of that, I'm hoping we can inspire younger, and even maybe even amateur musicians to start taking up jazz and really training their ears. As I told the gentleman who I was talking with, jazz is about training your ear. It's about understanding what jazz sounds like, and then you can start putting all the school books, if you will, and put all the technical know-how to it. It's a long process, but certainly if it's in your heart and in your soul, anyone could do it. I hope we can inspire you.
You must remember this: a kiss is still a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh.
Discovering you. 1 mile for every inch of your skin like porcelain. 1 pair of candy lips and bubblegum tongue. Well, if you want love, we'll make it. Swim in a deep sea on blankets. Take us your big plans and break them.
I'm going to Pango today, for American Samoa. Well, there's a concert on tonight at the Lee Auditorium, and hopefully we'll be able to make it sound good. And these guys are very good, talented musicians.
This is a very unique time to be talking. Look at where we are. This is great. Talofa Airways. We're all headed over to Pango, and we had a great show last night, and we plan to do another great show tonight, and everybody's here, so it's been an incredible experience for all of us.
Grammy-award winning artist, and every other single member of this tribute band he's formed tonight, some of the most extremely talented musicians in the world. We are absolutely lucky to have them tonight, and I really want to thank every single one of them for taking the time to come here to do the special tribute for May. Thank you.
Thank you. Talofa, good evening once again, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We have quite a palette of music to offer you in various forms in honor of my mother, Mavis Rivers.
Every honeybee fills with jealousy when they see her out with you. I don't blame them, goodness knows. Honeysuckle. When you're walking by, flowers droop inside, and I know the reason why. Your complexion, goodness knows, you're my honeysuckle rose. Don't buy sugar, you just have to touch my cup. You're my sugar, it's sweet when you stir it up. When I'm taking sips from your tasty lips, seems the honey very trips. I don't blame them, goodness knows, you're my honeysuckle. From your tasty lips, seems the honey very your mind.